Now, to my way of thinking, this is a sign, this vision of the green Christ is a sign or a symbol of nature's cooperation, finally, with the Judeo-Christian line of development, that the unconscious may indeed be prepared to come along if it's given its due, because it shows itself in the form of a crucified Christ. It certainly wouldn't have had to do that. So I take it as a sign of nature's cooperation, and I think for Jung personally, it symbolized much the same thing. It symbolized overcoming what he considered to be the essential problem within Christianity, the split between spirit and matter, or spirit and nature. That the Son of Nature was both a crucified Christ and a son of nature, to his mind, would have indicated that the split was being healed. I think it also shows that Jung's soul was genuinely Christian, finally, and not European pagan. I want to read you something that I came upon recently that I think amplifies this. This is from Memories, Dreams, Reflections also. And Jung writes, Merlin, you know the figure of the Arthurian legends, Merlin represents an attempt by the medieval unconscious to create a parallel figure to Parsifal. Parsifal is a Christian hero, and Merlin, son of the devil and a pure virgin, is his dark brother. In the 12th century, when the legend arose, there were as yet no premises by which his intrinsic meaning could be understood. Hence he ended in exile, and hence Le Cri de Merlin, which still sounded from the forest after his death. This cry, which no one could understand, implies that he lives on in unredeemed form. His story is not yet finished, and he still walks abroad. It might be said that the secret of Merlin was carried on by alchemy, primarily in the figure of Mercurius. Then Merlin was taken up again in my psychology of the unconscious, and remains uncomprehended to this day. That is because most people find it quite beyond them to live on closest terms with the unconscious. Again and again I have to learn how hard this is for people. Now, if we take Jung's own individuation process and the figure of the green Christ as a symbol of the healing of his psychic split between spirit and matter, and we try to apply that to the Christian tradition, which still suffers largely from that split, how would we begin going about doing that? How would this work on the part of the shamanic doctor have an influence on the patient? Or how could Christianity benefit from this? If the Christian tradition were to look at Jung and see him as a possible healer for its ailments, could it find something there, perhaps not so much in his words as in his life, that would stimulate a transformational process in its own life? I just want to speculate about this for a moment. And I do this more extensively in my book, and we can discuss it more in the course of the conference as well. But if we personify Christianity for a moment, although all we're doing is putting ourselves out there and in a collective form talking about ourselves, but if we personify Christianity and imagine it as a patient who needs inner healing, to overcome its age-old splits and prepare itself for the next phase of its development, of its individuation process, I think it would come away from Dr. Jung with a clear message, spoken or unspoken, and that would be, open yourself to the unconscious, Dr. Jung would say to his patient. Honor the dream. Allow the unconscious to smash the cathedral and to show you a larger image of God, because your God is too small and too confined in the boxes of dogma and habit. Recognize that your tribalism is based on wish and projection and has nothing to do with reality, or very little and very distorted. Allow yourself to consider all the other paths to God as equally valid and legitimate, and possibly equally tribal and limited. But do not abandon your history, and do not think the other traditions can bail you out if you will just learn some new tricks from them. Instead, concentrate yourself on your own symbols and on your own history, and let your unconscious respond, trusting that the God who revealed himself in the beginning will respond with symbols of transformation and renewal. But you must be prepared to take responsibility for these revelations, to test them by your very best means of interpretation and discernment, not according to what you have already known, but according to what you know you need and have not yet found. And always be ready to be surprised. Above all, be prepared to let God be whole.